Hello there, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack here. It is now Wednesday, the 13th of August, 2024. 20 years ago today, we had Hurricane Charley. It is the 20th anniversary of that monumental event for Southwest Florida, for our project, and for so many people that were impacted by that fateful day. Figured I would take a look back on this special YouTube video for you. And so let's start. Let's go over to the Wikipedia page, and let's begin our journey back in time. Charley, the first of 4 separate hurricanes to directly impact or even make landfall in Florida that year. We had Francis, Ivan, and Jean afterwards, and the team and I were in every one of those. Remember, we had Hurricane Alex just about 10 days earlier along the North Carolina Outer Banks, and then, of course, we had Charley. We had Hurricane Gaston. We were down there near Bulls Bay, South Carolina for that. But for Florida, yeah, it was Charley, Francis, Ivan, and Jean. Quite the impactful year 2004 was. A little bit of a track map history for you there. Made landfall as a Category 4 near Punta Gorda, the Charlotte Harbor area, Port Charlotte. And we were up along Interstate 75, not far from that area in the Port Charlotte region, just inland from the coast. I'll show you all of that in just a moment. A historic satellite photo. Charley coming around, looked like it was going to head up towards Tampa. We all remember that. The forecast track was pretty solid on a path towards the Tampa Bay area, maybe Sarasota, but the angle of approach was such that even the slightest wobble or change in track forecast would lead it into the Charlotte Harbor area, and that is exactly what happened. We'll take a look at that infamous update from the National Hurricane Center that came out and told us all that our lives were about to change. Here's a National Weather Service radar image of Charley as well, and I'll show you some more stuff from our good friend Jesse Bass and his homepage. So let's take a look at the graphics archive here. The very first advisory for Charley, there it is down there in the Windward Islands. It was forecast to move through the Caribbean and maybe end up in the Yucatan Channel region. Over time, though, that changed, as it always seems to do, right? There was enough of a pretty deep trough coming into the United States, eastern part of the United States, that it looked like, and this was that one time where we were like, oh boy, that maybe we were going to get a hurricane threat either in the Big Bend area or perhaps directly into Tampa. This is the advisory. This is the 6th advisory for Charley, and this is August 10th, so this is 3 days before landfall. And again, there's the direct threat to Tampa, crossing Cuba, getting over into the Tampa area. So the media attention, the eyes of the world were on Tampa. We headed down as a team. It was Jesse and John and me. We had 2 different vehicles packed with all kinds of gear, but we didn't have any remote cameras yet. That wouldn't happen until a year later with live streaming video. But we did have an instrumented vehicle or 2 and plenty of equipment to study the hurricane from the vehicle. As the forecast progressed, you can see it looked like it might be a little bit more to the south, and this one actually nailed it. This is forecast advisory number 9, and this was on Wednesday, so about 48 hours out. That was a pretty good forecast 2 days out. Nevertheless, we remember what happened. Charley came in, and it shifted back up towards Tampa there. This is advisory number 12. This is up to Thursday, the 12th of August. And even that morning of the 13th, it looked like it was still going to be the Tampa Bay area. You can clearly see that here, but that didn't work out so well. That famous intermediate update, infamous now, saying, oops, looks like it's going to be perhaps the Charlotte Harbor area, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, look at the difference there, and let's just enlarge this. This will help. There is this is the, let's see, 11 a.m. We were on our way to Bradenton, south of Tampa, all that stuff, and it was just north of the Dry Tortugas. Forecast just a few hours later to make landfall in Tampa Bay, just a few hours later. But the actual, what happened, and let's enlarge this one too, they had to do that special update. This is the 2 p.m., so just a few hours later, it made that right turn and went into Charlotte Harbor, and Tampa was spared. We all remember. So what's it look like from our perspective? First of all, let me show you that famous advisory. And this is Very, very important here. So here's the 11 o'clock, and this is written from Miles Lawrence, who has since retired, and it was looking like 100 knots, so a Category 3, pretty much right into Tampa and vicinity. So just a few hours later, 2 p.m., a big whoops. Sorry, I hit the 5 p.m. Recent aircraft reconnaissance reports along with radar and satellite data show winds have increased to 125 knots. The track has also shifted a little to the right of the previous advisory, and that shifts the greatest risk to the area of Charlotte Harbor instead of Tampa. And it went on to make landfall at around 150 miles per hour, and yeah, so there was that. So what did it look like from our perspective? This is from the Hurricane Intercept Research Team, as we called ourselves back then, and the very beginnings of the idea of what we called the Hurricane Landfall Project. We had already talked about it a little bit, maybe taking our old Isuzu Rodeo and outfitting it with some video cameras inside of old scuba housings, and kind of like GoPros today, right? And leaving that all out on a beach somewhere, not right on the beach, but in a beach community during the next big hurricane. And we thought, well, we'll work on it. If we get it done in 2004, great. If not, we'll pick it up again in 2005. Then along came Charley, and that really progressed things quickly, believe me. Because what we were doing is we were going to head down there with our specially equipped vehicles. These are all photos from Jesse. There's the old famous Chevy Tahoe. We had Eddie Smith with us as well, great friend of the project. He is now a town administrator or something like that, I think in Kannapolis, North Carolina. The old hurricane parties, yep, remember that? See that from time to time. This is for Bonnie, though. We ended up down in the Panama City area, Panama City Beach. This was for Tropical Storm Bonnie. We thought, all right, we'll go down for a 1-2 punch. We had Bonnie, then we had Charley, lots of media attention. As you can imagine, you roll in with a vehicle like this. And back in 2004, not many vehicles. Now, today, 20 years later, everybody with a $10 weather app has one. A little nod to the recent movie Twisters, sorry, the plural version. So this is what we had. This is pretty cool, folks. Before radar scope, before all of this, and the $10 weather app, and literally radar scope is $10, and well worth it, I might add. We had, thanks to John and his marketing skills, he had pitched to Barron's, that does a lot of weather graphics and other things. They had this new thing that they had come out with XM radio called Mobile Threat Net. So it was a laptop-based radar system with GPS, very similar to radar scope today, so we could keep track of the hurricane activity and radar and where we are. So that's us, just like we'd have on radar scope today. And we were leaving the area because, Bonnie turned out to not be a big deal in Florida. It was a much bigger deal up in North Carolina. The remnants of Bonnie actually led to some fatalities in, I think, Pender County from a tornado, if I'm not mistaken. So deadly up in North Carolina. So we headed down there. We were ready to go on the morning of the 13th. Our target, we felt that Charley was going to be south of Tampa based on our collective expertise between Eddie, Jesse, John, and myself. So we made our way down. And by the way, look at that. Wish we'd get that back again. $1.71 for gas. 20 years ago, that's what gas prices were. We have the receipts, right? So we headed down, and there's Charley looking menacing. We are just north of the Tampa area, and we're going to go around Tampa Bay and try to get down here to Bradenton Beach was our idea. And Charley was putting up the big waves, and all of this was through XM satellite weather. We took some pictures along the way. Dude is boarding up, well, not boarding up, but trying to protect the windows with painter's tape. Anyway, just shake my head. And then this is duct tape on these windows. You just have residue you have to clean up with a bunch of Gooby Gone or whatever it's called. Good luck with that. Tolls were suspended. We drove anywhere we needed to drive, no problem at all. We made it to Bradenton Beach, and we met up with the folks from the fire and EMS people down there. There was like nobody there. So when we rolled in with that Tahoe, yeah, we did have twin anemometers, by the way. That was pretty cool. It was a ghost town, and so we met up with some people down there. John getting all the equipment out that we brought with us. There's me. doing some updates. We had Sprint wireless internet, but we didn't have live video yet. We could send a live webcam picture and update the website through the laptop there with the little Sprint Air card. And there's Eddie and me kind of looking over everything. There's us talking to the fire rescue people in Bradenton Beach. And then one of them had come over and said, "Hey guys, there's a special advisory. It's almost a Category 5, and it's headed into Charlotte Harbor." And we were like, "What? What are you talking about?" So we pulled it up. We were sitting there chin wagging, and we lost track of everything and got that nasty surprise ourselves. So Jesse took a few more pictures, and off we went. We headed south from there and made our way down through Sarasota and got into position. There's us. There's Sarasota right there. And we made our way over to I-75. And the idea was to get right in front of it somewhere along the interstate. I figured let's get near an overpass. We could duck under that overpass for shelter, but we'd have a nice open area out in front of the overpass for the anemometers to collect some really good wind data from that very nasty core down there. Charley was a beast, no doubt about it. So we get closer and closer, and Charley's just looking crazier. Look at that moat right there around. I mean, it's like a hurricane within a hurricane, a very unusual situation. Wow, it just gives me goosebumps just thinking about it even today. So we got down there to exit 170 along Interstate 75. I think it's 170. And look at that pink that was in there. Probably had some graupel or hail. And a very well-defined eyewall came across Captiva in vicinity. Fort Myers off to the east was fairly well spared because the harshest of the eyewall was going to be confined to just a very small area. And I made a very profound statement to the team. Jesse was very concerned because we had GPS. I mean, there it is, right? That we're going to put ourselves in front of a Category 4 hurricane. I was like, well, the odds that we're going to actually be able to nail it, because it is small, and the forecast information was saying that the 150-mile-per-hour winds were just in a tiny area about 8 miles from the eye or something like that. I had my rationale. I was like, I don't think we're going to really experience it. It should be fine. And I said, we won't go to Sanibel or Captiva. I mean, duh. We're not going to go out there on the coast and just get run over by a storm surge. So let's get up to close to the harbor, which is right here. There's Charlotte Harbor right there, and we're only a few miles away, and be out in an open area, and let's get that wind data as it comes in. And all right, fine. They agreed reluctantly to follow my plan. So we get out there, all hell breaks loose, and it is one of the scariest things that I've ever been through. And we did it. We did it inside of a Chevy Tahoe there. It's knocking down, as you can see, concrete buildings. Part of this is just bad design and no hurricane mitigation. Look, no mitigation, yes mitigation. See the aluminum storm panels? Those buildings are all intact. Even in 2004, 20 years ago, there was some good success stories. Radio towers blown over, that kind of thing. Complete building failures here. And again, a lot of this is from these big doors that got blown in, and then the wind gets inside and everything just, the pressure and the wind all works together to kind of explode things, if you will. And then the ones that did have the mitigation, like right here and right here, they did fairly well, except, again, some kind of a roof truss or radio tower or something fell down. Extensive wind damage, but the buildings that had hurricane shutters, they did really, really well. The Hampton Inn up there, some chasers stayed there during Ian. We didn't. We were in Orlando. Ian's a story for another day. And gas stations shredded. You've probably seen the Mike Tice video from the gas station that he filmed. Arguably the strongest wind ever recorded on a video device. They're thinking it was about 75 mile per hour gusts, 175 from Mike Tice. Look that up. It's on YouTube. So then we followed it up into Orlando and intercepted it again, our second encounter with the eyewall, and the team had enough. A mutiny ensued because I wanted to keep going and get up to Wilmington because Charley was going to go offshore, come back over North Carolina. I wanted to be there for that. and they wouldn't do it. And I was overruled, and we took shelter at a hotel, and we made it back to Wilmington just after landfall, and that was that. This is a great write-up, by the way, from Jesse. I'll put a link to this in the description of today's video. Like I said, it led to the rapid acceleration of the Hurricane Landfall Project. So just a few weeks later, we went down for Hurricane Francis, ready to go. We worked very quickly. We took the old Isuzu. It was green. We got it painted yellow, slapped some labels on it, and let me show you a nice picture of it here. I mean, we worked really, really fast. We had really good funding from Lowe's to help out with all this. Put a camera housing on top. We had several of them that we could put up on this thing up here. Steel platform that was rigged up by a crane company here in town. They made my hail guard, by the way, for the Tacoma that we've got now for studying hail. A story for another day. There it is, though, the Hurricane Landfall Project, the unofficial official name of our little idea. And this would be like a crash test dummy. Leave this out, let it do all the scary stuff, collecting data, while we stay somewhere safe in a hotel or a condo or wherever, and not sit in a Category 4 hurricane in a vehicle. That just doesn't sound very smart. I had a documentary film crew that was wanting to do a pilot with us. That's Jeff Flock, by the way, right there, this gentleman. And that's Rob Hess. They used to work together at CNN all the way back in the very early days when Ted Turner began the CNN network. And that's my house, by the way, back in the day, long time ago. But yeah, this is Francis, and that started the Hurricane Landfall Project, to which today has come a long, long way. We've got remote cams and remote weather stations. Everything's smaller, runs for days at a time, and we can be in 20 places at once. You know the rest of the story by now if you've been following my work. That's where it all began with Hurricane Charley. Oh man, look at that guy. Kind of pixelated. It's rough video. Yeah, 20 years ago. So I'll leave you with this. We do have a bunch of documentaries that we've done on YouTube. This is, when did I put this on? 17 years ago. Wow. The quality's not very good. It's from old videotape. And however I mastered this, I think I created the documentaries on an old Mac. But 17 years ago, the bit rate was not very good. But here's me, and we're getting ready to head down to the Charlotte Harbor area, and we're just about to I-70. I think we're right on I-75 here. And we had put the anemometer up high to get those good wind readings. And I'll just fast forward a little bit for you and show you. We get down there, and the rest is history, as they say. Not good. I'll just fast forward here through the little 5-second deal. Oh yeah, let's go back. Pressure was 981 millibars at this point on the Tahoe. Had a pressure sensor. Kind of go through all this. Let's see what else. 4:32 p.m. It's really starting to rock and roll. Very, very heavy, strong winds. You know, like ridiculous, right? And then roof comes off the building next to us. All heck breaks loose. 95 to 110, as you can see there. I'm starting to get really upset and like, oh man, we could be hurt, we could be killed. It just gets nuts. I laugh now. Look at that, 127 gust. We're parked under the overpass now. The wind is hitting us straight on, so the anemometer is not affected. There was some question about that. Hey, aren't you under the overpass? The wind readings, where we were still sitting right out in front so that we could duck under. You know, if we had to, we could back up. Now we're fully tucked under, and so the wind readings are moot at this point. But we were just seeing incredible things out there, and very frightening. There's the eyewall. 4:42 p.m., the eye's getting ready to come over us. The pressure dropped, I think, to about 965. Look at that. Stuff's hitting the ground. Look at that. Looks like a cannonball right here. Bam! That's from the hotel over there, that Hampton Inn coming apart. Finally, we get into the eye. Fast forward to that. This is the eye wall. See, look, the wind is greatly reduced, only in the 60s because we're under the overpass. So there you go. So we get in the eye wall, we get into the eye, and we meet these kids that were driving around, and they didn't know that there was a hurricane coming. Pressure down to 947 millibars, so it dropped 40 millibars in like a half hour. Just insanity, right? and the embankment of the interstate was getting chewed away. Grass and dirt were thrown up. It was just nuts. 451, we're in the eye. It's about as calm as you could ask for, very foggy. These young men jumped out of that car up there. I went and talked to them. They were cursing and almost hyperventilating. Me too, honestly. And this is what the eye looked like. You couldn't see a lot of blue sky. It was directly above me. I just forgot to look up. I was so adrenaline filled. And yeah, it was quite the experience. And so then we got the backside of it. And that comes in really quickly here. It's hard to even think. Yeah. So the backside comes in almost like instantly. And winds come from the different direction, literally the opposite way. Everything that blew from right to left is now blowing from left to right. And we'll just kind of scroll through to the end. We chased it up to Orlando. Come on, YouTube. And got it up there. And then finally over the St. Johns River near Orange City or somewhere up there. And boy, that was very, very frightening on this bridge up there. I actually told the guys during that second encounter, the wind was coming at us broadside on this bridge over the St. Johns River. I said, turn the cameras off, because I think we could actually blow over down into the river, and I don't want the family to see this. That's a true story. And so we have no footage of that, that's fine. There was so many four-letter words. By the way, this is my neighborhood. I wanted to be in the eye 3 different times, but 2 will have to suffice. And I think that's actually what I said at the end of this video. So that's Charley, 20 years later. Thanks for enduring this look back at it. Hopefully you learned something. Maybe you didn't know about this from our side of things. But that's it. That's what started what we now have today. All right. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack. Good to have you with us. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time around.